Hello and welcome to the fifth part of our PowerShell presentations. And today we are going to talk about so-called flow control, which basically means the more dynamic scripting when you are making decisions in your script. Basically it means that you have an algorithm behind your script and it's not so static, meaning that you can make decisions according to your needs, according to the data you have. So today in our short presentation we are going to accomplish such task as listing all the network interface card adapters from another computer in our network. And we are going to do it through VMI. So the gvmi command, or the get VMI, is the command that allows us to execute some VMI function, as you know from the previous session. And in this case we are going to use the function Win32 network adapter configuration. And after that, as you can see, we are using the get members to list the members of the object that we will receive from the get VMI. And since we are going to list the properties of that object, we are going to list only members of the member type of property. Again, we were discussing this during the previous sessions. And here, as you can see, we have all the properties of the resulting object, and what we need from it is the property with the names like IP address and DHCP enabled or DHCP server, and we will list, using the same gvmi, all the network interfaces which have the DHCP enabled, and we will list their IP addresses. This is just a sample, this is just an example, and you will use the same approach when you will have to do something with a registry or Active Directory records, because you know they are the same arrays of objects. So we are using the get VMI command and stating the name of the computer. Let's look at it again. Yeah, the computer name, which is MTL CL1. During the previous session about security, you saw how to enable the VMI access through the network. So if you will try to run this command at this moment in your network, then perhaps you will have the exception that you cannot connect to that computer, and then look at the fourth session about the security, about how to enable it. And so, as a result of this command of get VMI Win32 network adapter configuration, you see all the network adapters, and not all of them are IP based. So, like one mini port L2TP doesn't have the IP address because, well, it doesn't need one. But those which are IP based, they have the IP address and such setting as the DHCP server. So as you can see, at least two of them have the IPPA address, or automatically provided IP address, which is 169.254 whatever. By the way, the IPPA or automatically provided IP address is what you get when you said that you have to get the IP address automatically from DHCP server, but DHCP server cannot be located. So in that case you have that IP address, but you cannot use it. And now what we are going to do, we are using the Foreach loop, which basically takes the array of object and does something with each member of that array. So in this case we are referring to each member of that array that we get from get VMI command and we refer it as n. It will be variable n, and the array will get from the command gvmi win32 network adapter configuration from the computer name mtlcl1, just like we had previously. And then for each of these objects we will do what? So we started the code block, and here is this object, and for each object within the array it will be different, and we are just writing the IP address to the console. So when we are just typing the object with a property and we are not doing anything with it, it will just be printed. So as you can see, we have 3 IP addresses. So only the network adapters which has the IP addresses were used. So we have 3 IP addresses. One of them is private for local network, and 2 of them are APIPA, which cannot be used even in local network. Now we are creating the variable called NIC, or network interface controller. We are using getVMI object command, which is absolutely the same as gvmi. gvmi is just alias for getVMI object. We are using the same function of win32 network adapter configuration, and we are getting the information from the mtlcl1 computer. So now we have that information. We stored it in a variable named NIC, and now in this Foreach loop we are using this array which is stored in the NIC variable. We are doing this because if you are going to using that information in more than one loop, more than one for each, for example, it's better to store that information than retrieve it every time, just for performance reasons. And what we are going to do then, for each result, we are going to type the description and the IP address of the object or of the network interface. And as you can see, although we tried to list all the IP addresses, some of the interfaces don't have IP addresses because they are not IP based. And the listing was quite ugly, so we are adding the space just for better formatting. So we added space, and now it's much better. So we have space between the description and the IP address. And now we can use that information, I mean the array, multiple times because it's already stored in the NIC and IC variable. Now let's try something else. Let's try to list all objects, all the network interfaces from that array, and display the information about its IP address as previously, and whether it has the DHCP enabled, and if the DHCP is not enabled, then we will type that this address is static. So here we have the expression which checks whether the DHCP enabled property, which is Boolean, equals true, which means that the DHCP is enabled. And in that case, as you can see, we open the code block. We are writing to the console with the command write host that what is the description of that network interface, what is the IP address of that interface, and each write host writes it with a new line. What is the IP address, and what is the DHCP server? It's all stored in properties of the object. As you can see, as you can understand in other examples, like with registry entries or with Active Directory objects, we could use different properties for that object. Like whether the user is logged, to which domain he belongs, and so on. Whether he's the administrator. So that's the if clause. You can look at the help for the syntax. So if the DHCP enabled is true, then we are doing something. We are typing these 3 lines. But else means that otherwise. If DHCP enabled is not true, only then we are writing this information. The description, the same as previously. The IP address, and since we don't have the DHCP server, we will write just that this IP address is static. That's it. We are closing the code block of else. And since the if was in another code block, we are closing it as well. Here it is. And we are ready to go. Type enter again, and here we have it. Take a look that when we even don't have the IP address, we have the line that address is static. And that's because the DHCP is not enabled. We could improve that script by checking whether the IP address exists, and then perhaps just skip that record if it's not IP based. However, in this first example, we just resort to typing that address is static. In your real life scripts, perhaps you would filter records much better. So as you can see, some IP addresses are static, some are not. And that's basically how you can make decisions in your script. Whether some properties are true or false or equals something or whatever, you are able to perform different functions that will make your script more dynamic. Now, this was possible in Visual Basic Scripting Edition previously, or in JavaScript, or in even in normal command line shell. Next time we will improve these topics. So the basic idea behind this particular presentation was to show you how you can make your scripts more dynamic. And this is it, and thank you for watching, and have a good time.